What up, world? This is your boy Reggie Dokes, and welcome to part two of God Said Give 'em Drum Machines Behind the Scenes podcast. So, in this episode, guys, we're going to continue on with Detroit Techno 101. And what is Detroit Techno 101? It is an education curriculum that focuses on sharing the story of Detroit Techno through the lens of the locations that enabled the art form to develop in Detroit. It was created with the Music Origins Project, which is run by our producer, David Grandison. Detroit Techno 101 will challenge students to explore the landmarks that created Detroit Techno using VR 360-degree technology. It will also be providing students with an understanding of digital storytelling across mediums that we use in film. Today, we'll have with us our producers, Jennifer Washington and David Grandison, and our director, Kristian Hill, to discuss some significant techno locations throughout Detroit with history and personal experiences. Can't wait to hear this. Let's get into it.
So let's jump right in. Reggie, what are your thoughts and memories on Archer Pressing Plant in Detroit?
Anyone who is somebody that's an artist in Detroit at some point in their career has gone through Archer, and I'm one of them. We're talking about a family-owned business. His father and son owned business. The son, Mike, took it over after his father decided to kind of step away from it. I think due to health issues, and Mike has press records for myself, Theo Parrish, Kenny Dixon, Carl Craig. I mean, oh my God, the list is quite long. Archer Pressing is probably one of the few pressing plants left in the country, um, and that within itself, speaks volumes. I mean, for I think his business has I think Archer probably has been in business. Is probably safe to say probably 30 years or more. It probably has to
Yeah,
be
they were
for
launched in
Archer.
62.
Yeah. Oh God.
62.
Yeah. So, imagine that. We're talking the '60s. So, some Motown shit floated through there. He was probably pressing or helping assist with. Um, man. I remember Mike would tell me how I initially when I was getting records pressed there, I just thought he was just getting Detroit business. That just kind of shows you how a person can have tunnel vision and how narrow minded one can be. But when he told me he was pressing records up of folks on the West Coast, I mean, I didn't realize how big the vinyl business was. I my first record was pressed in 2001, and I just didn't realize how big that business was till I actually, started my own record label. And it would just amaze me, man. I would go and pick up my test press or whatever. And I remember walking in many a day and looking at the wall, man. And I remember Theo and Kenny, Theo Parrish and Kenny, their records from like the floor to the ceiling. It covered the whole fucking wall, floor to ceiling of their records. I was like, damn, they selling a lot of records. I'm like, shit, man. So those were the days. Yeah, when you could make a little money, selling records. Now, shit. They claim that there's been a resurgence in the whole vinyl market or whatever. And I guess I can agree with that a little bit. You are seeing like a lot of folks going back to, buying vinyl records and what have you. But Archer Records, man, they were just they play a huge role. Um, shit, and especially in techno, and even before that, obviously, shit. You're talking about a company that, as David said, was founded in the '60s, man. So I'm sure Mike could tell some stories, man, about a lot of the people that he's dealt with, in Detroit. And that whole process of pressing a record is just so fascinating to me. Um, it just really is, man. Just to see how a record is made, man, it's just crazy. I remember going in there. Mike would be looking like a mad scientist. They'd be pouring like these black rocks into like this hot machine, and oh god, and those machines were old too. They were like shit. Those machines they were using, man, were like old as hell. And if one of them broke down, he'd be mad in the mug, man. Like, damn, man. It would set them back, like maybe an hour or two. But man, that place, man, it was is great. I think the last time I went to Detroit, I went there um, to holler at Mike about a record. But yeah, man, Mike Archer, the man,
Wow.
Archer
Yeah, I
Pressing.
mean, what you're saying is really deep because yeah, there was a vinyl resurgence, and I think vinyl actually beat out digital back about 5 years ago for a minute, but it hasn't really hung on. But yeah, you're right. Archer was in Detroit. And again, correction, 65 I think was actually the origin, the time when he started it. But
Hmm.
those presses that you're talking about, they don't make them anymore. Like the presses, the record pressing factories now that have presses,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. They don't there
Mm-hmm.
there are no real companies that are making them as much. I think there are now new digital tools that allow you to press
Mm-hmm.
very small batches, and obviously you can press masters at
Mm-hmm.
studios, but to press in volume, it's a lost art. So
Right.
Archer is a rare gem, and it being in Detroit is really important because my understanding is that Motown decentralized and they were pressing close to the markets they were in, but
Mm-hmm.
the Detroit Archer record press was for the Detroit market, but now there's all gone. So now so much business is now starting to come to him, but it's still a
Mm-hmm.
very rare and unique trade. The actual pressing of vinyl, and like, what do you think about the quality of vinyl versus digital? Like, are you a purist, Reg? Christian, are you guys purists? Are you
Man,
guys?
you talking to a dude, man, where it took me forever to embrace the new technology, man. When they started coming out with CDJs, I still had my music on CDs, putting them into the CDJ player. You know what I mean? And then Kai cracked on me one day. He was like, "Yo, dude, you can put all those records on a thumb drive, right?" And I was like, dude, I hear you, but I've seen DJs walk up to a CDJ player right before their set, put the thumb drive in the CDJ player, and it says on the screen uh, that there's an error or it can't read the music. What do? You better have a fucking backup thumb drive or you shit out of luck. So, I was always like, man, as long as that CDJ player has a slot that can hold a CD, man, please. I was pushing that. I still do that, even, because I have a CDJ player. But I still do that, man. Like burn my shit to like a CD or whatever. But I'm going to transform. I'm gonna embrace it. But the whole argument with vinyl, there's always that thing that vinyl sounds warmer and a lot fuller, and it does. It fucking does. I'm a vinyl diehard
Yeah.
to my last fucking breath. I mean, I'm an old motherfucker. That's how I was raised. I was raised on vinyl. Like
Uncompressed
we we we
analog.
we we would go to the record stores and actually record shop. I mean, like it's a part of my DNA, man. So I'm always big on vinyl. And like when the few experiences that I had in DJing, when the technology changed, and now all of a sudden you don't have to carry all these fucking records. You know what I mean? Like you carrying a metal DJ case with 50 damn records in it, man, and you going halfway, you going across the Atlantic. When the technology improved, that it changed a lot of that. You know what I mean? But still, man, like the last party I did, which was like 3 or 4 years ago, it was a tour, small tour I did in London, and man, the gig that I did, the requirement was don't come over here with any digital shit. They were like, we are strictly vinyl party. I love that shit. They were like, dude, don't even come over here with no CDs and thumb drives and shit. This party is strictly a vinyl fucking party. And I don't care what they say. Motherfucker mixing a vinyl record. I know I'm gonna get in trouble. I don't care. You a real damn DJ. Huh? You a real goddamn DJ learning how to mix fucking records on vinyl. I'm sorry. I said it. Yes, I did.
Hill, what's your thoughts on vinyl before we move on?
Bro, I just want to keep the music going. I don't have any insight right now. I don't have a turntable.
Okay.
Well, I have a question I think you
You
might
know?
answer. Kristian, why did we go shoot at Archer?
But just seeing that process that Doach just named, you just talked about. Give me 1 second. I'll get on so you can hear me. But wish it was a way I could plug this in. But yeah, we wanted to see that. It was fascinating, and it's a big part of why we followed who we followed is because they made records, and just the record making, that process, it was just something to see. And visually at the time, we hadn't had the opportunity to film something so like, I guess, important and intimate in terms of the record making process and how that piece of vinyl then becomes this thing you don't know where it's going to go and have a life of its own. So it was just great to see from inception. So that's why, Eric Jackson made it happen, and, I just remember just us going and interviewing my man who I forgot his name, the Archer. He's the son. I remember us interviewing him, and it was just windy and stuff like that. I just remember that. It was cold. We interviewed him outside, but yeah.
Mike
Archer.
Archer. Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you. Mike. Yeah, bro. Just that process.
Yeah, that process, man. And it's like, back then, I'm saying back then, but back when I first, started DJing, man, it was like the code was you couldn't get gigs unless you had a record out, you know? So it makes you think, why did all these guys start their own record labels? We became our own business. We became entrepreneurs. We started these labels to promote our sound, right? And to promote us as DJs, and when you look at it, there are a lot of record labels in Detroit, independent record labels, in both house and techno, man. And it's mind blowing. When you look at some of these stores overseas, and they have these records of Detroit artists, on their shelves that they're selling, man. I mean, Detroit, I mean, you say you are a Detroit artist, and you would be lying to yourself if you said that being from Detroit didn't help as an artist. Oh, you're a Detroit artist? I mean, there's like this whole mystique, I think, behind all of that. You know what I mean? I mean, I think if you were from anywhere else, I don't know. But when you say you're from Detroit, you're a Detroit artist overseas, it's just that respect level goes way up. And why is that? Because, we just Detroit artists just have that unique sound. I think, but yeah, artists have become like their own business, and it's just fascinating to see, man. You learn the ropes about distribution and promoting your music and other artists, and Detroit really just laid that groundwork for a lot of us as far as starting our own businesses in the music business. you know
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know
And
that
what
that yeah.
you're talking about is, I think, a vital point to underscore is that this was entrepreneurship, and
Mm-hmm.
the creation of labels is the creation of a business.
Right.
And this is a business that was embraced in Detroit, and Detroit is still has one of the densest uh one of the densest cities for labels, of independent labels. And so I think that that's really important. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do with this, Detroit Techno 101 is, one, yeah, let's look at these institutions that have been created in Detroit that are entrepreneurial institutions that we need to be teaching young people how to replicate. And it's the Archer Record Press. Hey, why one day maybe we need to have a black owned Archer Record Press. Okay, so think about that. But on the other side of things, independent labels. We need more independent labels. We need students to realize that they can start their own label, and that that's a business, and that's a business that's distributed in a wide variety of ways. So slowly but deeper, feel me like I feel you. So let's talk about, like, what's the strength of the label? What is the goal of the label, and how did labels form the basis for what became Detroit Techno? We know Techno Boulevard had three labels, three labels that were right within proximity, and that was because they needed to collaborate. But Rich, take a, what did you think about Techno Boulevard? What was unique about that, or anybody chime in on that?
Well, my understanding, it was the whole naming of Techno Boulevard was a process within itself, and if I'm not mistaken, I think um, Kevin and Derek and Juan, as well as others, really pushed for that to happen, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm glad it did, because it just, all the shit that we get being from Detroit and in Detroit, it was just really um, a good thing to see something like that happen for us. We're talking about the origin of techno and being recognized internationally for that. And it was just, it was a great thing. It was a great thing. And I'm super proud that it happened. I mean, I'd be lying to myself if I said those guys, didn't inspire me to start, my own situation. So, they laid the groundwork, the framework, if you will, for a lot of us that came after them. So, Techno Boulevard is a beautiful thing. I I even have a T-shirt that has Techno Boulevard on it. So, I'm super proud that that came to fruition for us as Detroiters, and especially lovers of techno.
Yeah, yeah. It's about, I think proximity. The
Hmm.
fact that having these labels all in the same area meant that if a promoter came from abroad and wanted to see these guys, it was easy for them to find all of them in the same area.
Okay.
It was collaboration. It was
Mhm.
some of the people were working for each other. You know, there were
Mm.
people who would help on all these different labels. So that brings us back to that collaboration that we were talking about and why collaboration is important. You know, they didn't say we're going to be on three separate sides of the city, yeah, and because we don't want to be sharing each other's ideas. Yeah, they said we're going to be close to each other. You know, so I mean, those are important things that we need to teach young people to embrace, and that's why, you know, we're trying to look at the proximity of these things, you know, and that's something that goes way back. You know, as I was, Tin Pan Alley back in the 20s was that because the publishing industry needed to have the people who were making the pianos, the people who were making the sheet music, the people who were writing the songs for those pianos, all in the same area. And so Detroit embraced that and carried that on. And we need to teach young people to embrace the fact that they can collaborate and work together.
So Kristian, how the concept of Techno Boulevard, how does it relate to our story, the film?
Right now is just talking about it to me is it's part of the story, and it's central to kind of at one point to where all the music came together, and where Derek would have a lot of collaborators coming down, Juan will have collaborators coming down, but we only get into a few of the relationships that were born out of that early on. You know, we really don't follow the collaboration with Martin Barnes, or we don't really get into some of the Anthony Shakir, some of the people that were down there. When we talk about collaborators, I wish we had more time or more ability to kind of like dig into this rabbit hole. And in this rabbit hole of collaboration is also where you kind of have this whole situation where you have people who don't get their proper what would you say, their proper credits for these songs too. So you're right, you do have to teach young people how to collaborate in a way that you respect each other's creative input, and that, you know, that is a process that we all sharing together, you know, as much as you can. I mean, you know, but I definitely feel like collaboration is so key to the creative process. And at Techno Boulevard, as Dokes noted and as you noted, the collaboration, the proximity made it so collaboration could happen in a myriad of ways. And, you know, really, you got three labels, but we're all kind of gravitating to what at the Derek was kind of the first one down there on that corner. You know what I mean? And Juan was working out the crib, you know, and Kevin and them, they were growing, you know, selling records too. So I just made it real convenient for them, you know. And as it relates to our movie, I hope that we shine a light on it in a way that kind of gives it its justice.
More specifically, how does the existence of this place in Detroit where all these labels were, if it were such a real thing, then how did the Belleville 3 thing happen if we have Techno Boulevard?
This Techno Boulevard thing is just like a place. It's a hub. It just got like a little marketing spin on it. Same with Belleville 3. It was a marketing spin that came out in the first in the Detroit Techno album, in the liner notes, in the Techno New Sound of Detroit Techno. One of the things that was there in those liner notes was the term the Belleville 3. So that's where it kind of got put on to them. So, they all kind of worked together in this world that they were creating. You know what I mean? They were telling, nobody was giving us misdirection. It was like, hey, these guys went to high school in Belleville, right? And now we're here on Techno Boulevard. That's what gave it its foundation, its grit, So the Europeans, how they were telling the story, it wasn't well, that was the story. The Belleville 3 thing just blurs things in the sense that it limits, it kind of isolates the collaboration just to 3 people. And once you isolate the collaboration to 3 people, you omit all these other people that are in the room, all these other names, James Pennington, you start to omit Art Force, you start to omit Santonio, just the Belleville 3 is just, and it's a tight sport coat right there, you know what I mean? But that's how they were marketing the music at that time. So yeah, and Techno Boulevard just gave it some, a little backstory, name for it to ring, and that's how I kind of look at it. And whereas before, early on, I thought the Belleville 3 thing was some not, kind of a way to kind of take away from Detroit and things of that nature. But at the time, these, as I understand it, they were Juan, Derek, and them were on the margins of Detroit. You know what I mean? I would say Derek and Kevin more so. Juan's music spoke to Detroiters. When you listen to Derek and Kevin and them talk about, not so much Kevin, but when you hear Derek and Juan to some degree talk about how their sound wasn't influenced by Detroit, that Motown didn't have nothing to do with it, and just kind of those early remarks, made it to where Techno Boulevard, having something that's like Techno Boulevard, gave it at least a Detroit foundation, while they're still trying to market themselves as anti-Detroit, or counter Detroit. So, I mean, I look at it a few different ways.
We can't deny that the radio played a big part. For me, radio in itself was what allowed jazz music to spread. Think about places like Cotton Club back in the day. They allowed jazz to spread. Now you go to Detroit giving this music to Mojo and him breaking it on the radio allowed all the kids in Detroit to hear that music for the first time. Can either one of you tell me, like, the first time you remember hearing one of these songs played on the radio, and tell me what that was like for you? Yes. Mojo, famous GPR.
Yeah. I think Cosmic Cars is what did it for me. First time I heard that on the radio, I was like, oh my God, what is going on here? But I think we all can agree that Mojo, and that the station that he was on, what was it? What was the call numbers or letters? Anybody?
You're talking about WGPR or WHYT?
He was on WH. He was on both.
He was on both.
He was on.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
WHYT is where he used to do the mixer down.
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, I'm sure we can all agree. I know for myself, that's where I got a lot of exposure to just different genres of music growing up as a kid in Detroit was, the great and honorable Mojo, you know. In one breath, he's playing Mozart, and then in the next, he's, playing a record by one of our Detroit artists, or craft work, then James Brown. That diversity in the music that was played back then, I think just kind of made a lot of us open to, just various genres of music. You know what I mean? I just truly believe 80s was a great time for music across all genres, man. And Mojo was one of those cats that really embraced that. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that kind of education coming up uh, made me the man that I am today. As a selector of music. But But
Mm.
yeah, man, and I've mentioned this before, and Mojo, um, he was, one of the very few, if only, cats that broke Prince's records, because no one else was really playing Prince's stuff earlier on in his career, man. And Mojo was one of those dudes who he took chances, man. He was one of those rare DJs, man, that really just you couldn't put him in a box. And
Bro, you saying that just makes me remember him playing like "Hey Lover," like to hear Prince him play "Hey Lover," like the extended mix. You just
right,
like, damn, bro, this shit
Hey
is
Lover.
hard.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
is that what it's called?
What's Hey Lover?
Hold on, let me look it up.
Prince, he would give
Dun,
Prince,
dun.
he would give Prince so
Right.
much love,
He
and Prince would come in on the station and talk to him,
right.
and come on, Prince loved Detroit, and that was largely in part, I think, due to Mojo,
Right.
I'm
and
sorry that you don't know any of your, I
Prince's
guess,
social
person
media
who you think
history.
you know, Prince. I'm sorry,
Hey Lover
you
is not the name of the song. It's not.
What
Hey,
is
lover.
It's Soft
what
and
is it?
Wet.
I want to
Soft
be
and wet.
soft and wet. Oh
Okay.
yeah, okay, there you go. Well,
Okay.
just say that.
Don't
Yeah,
doubt.
but you
Don't doubt me.
soft
Like,
wet.
hey, love is no song title that,
Yes,
but
that's it. Soft and wet.
Yeah, that's soft and wet. That's soft and wet, bro. For sure. That's soft and
but
wet
no, the
for real.
radio was huge. It took up so much time of our lives listening to the radio. It was such a
Right.
source of
Mhm.
entertainment, unlike it is now. I don't ever listen to the radio, but if I'm in my car,
No.
I'm listening to XM, and there's such a different experience because I'm not really hearing new. I don't. That's not how I find out about new music. It's not from the radio anymore. It's
Right.
from
It's
YouTube or whatever. It's definitely
right.
not what it meant. Radio is not what it was growing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so
I agree.
what are we doing? What are we gonna do? What's gonna happen? Because radio was a place where new artists were broken, where you had
Mhm.
DJs who were curating and creating these cultural soundscapes and exposing
Yeah,
people.
but that's you guys just like being kind of unaware of where other acts are being broken. Like you said, YouTube, you know what I mean? Things are happening on SoundCloud, things are
Like
happening in the
TikTok.
digital.
That
Right.
absolutely,
Definitely happening in TikTok. Like so things are
absolutely.
happening. It's just like how do you adjust and how do you stay current and not be narrow and be like I just don't know no more. Like you at some point you gotta like get in the game of where how
New
it
music.
shifted and
Right.
Well,
yeah,
that's
how the
that's
music
that's
is
what's up.
shifted.
But the key is we've got to make sure that we are talking about and teaching people how these shifts are occurring so that we can use and optimize the use of these other channels that are happening, because
Mhm,
there was a
mhm,
unique thing that was happening when we had DJs curating. So now it's
Mhm.
the
mhm.
podcast, now it's the mix show,
Right.
but teaching young people to be able to make this an active thing versus
Or
being
it's the
just, I'm just gonna,
playlist.
yeah, the
Like the
playlist, yeah.
playlist.
Mhm.
Like,
Right.
dude, I have a friend whose son, he's like, dude, I just put up a new playlist. Check out my playlist. Like, I
Right.
follow people to be like, I just did my favorite playlist. So it's just like
Yeah,
everything is shifted to the playlist. You know what I
Right.
mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Right.
are we so mature that you can't like shift to the playlist too? You know what I
No,
mean? Like,
hey,
that's
I'm with you.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
what it
I'm
is. I
with
mean,
you.
that's what
You
Spotify is. That's what
right.
Spotify is.
You certainly
You
can't
know.
afford not to shift if you're an artist in the music business.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
You can't afford to do it, man, because these kids nowadays, man, they aren't really buying records, physical copies of records or CDs. It's all digital. Like you said, they're going to SoundCloud, they're going to Spotify, Beatport, um, Apple Music, Amazon. I mean, they're going to all these different
Sadao.
right
Absolutely.
means of finding music. Because like Jennifer alluded to, I mean, let's be real, radio has become a lot of radio has become very what's the word I'm looking for? Um, it's not inventive, it's not creative. It's you can turn on a radio station, man, and you will hear the same fucking record probably 2 or 3 times within a 2 hour time frame.
Bro, you
And
Yeah.
in LA, it's worse, bro. You could hear
Yeah.
Roddy Rich
Yes.
4 times.
Yes.
Right.
You hear Roddy
right,
Rich.
Yes. That's what I
right,
was thinking
Roddy
about
Rich.
just
You
now.
hear Roddy Rich on the
right,
hour, like on the
Right. Right.
DJ Mustard on the beat,
right.
YG. Hey,
Right.
bro, the radio out here is really like,
Yeah, it's
oh man, if
it's
it wasn't for KCRW, there'd be no radio. You
right.
know?
Well, that's
Right.
terrestrial radio for you. I mean, XM
Yeah,
is so
yeah,
different with that,
Mm.
Yeah.
the way they
yeah,
program.
yeah.
Satellite radio, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But satellite radio, they repeat too.
Not
They
like
repeat
regular
on
radio.
Shade 4 or 5. I mean, that shit ain't, I mean, it's not like a playlist, but I will say like their disco station, the Studio 54 station, and those other dance music stations, they are generally up up to date and playing like dope stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not overkill like on commercial radio. Commercial.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I think for me, all I say is we have to teach people to curate music and to curate music well for discovery. Okay. So you got to understand these channels. Okay. And that's what we have to really help young people to understand, that there are all of these channels. If you don't name your content correctly, if you don't make it discoverable with a title that is going to speak correctly, if your playlist isn't named correctly, if your playlist doesn't have the right metadata, you're not going to be found in the mix. And then if you don't know how to reach out to these channels that are actually putting out new music and market yourself in that way, you're not going to be found either. And so that's really ultimately, I think the ultimate goal is just to make sure that people are mindful in how they're consuming, and if you're a creator, mindful in how you're disseminating, and so yeah, that's the ultimate goal, I think. Let's just be mindful of it, let's talk about it, and let's make sure that we're helping young people to optimize so that they can win. That's the bottom line.
Okay, so I also segue now into the next location. The reason why we thought it was important to have Santonio on this week was because I can recall him talking about where he used to buy equipment to make music. And he said he brought up Wonderland music. And if anybody has any memories about Wonderland, I would like to hear them.
I bought my first record from Wonderland Music. It was a Bootsy Collins album. One with the glasses.
With the star glasses.
Yeah, star glasses that you could pop out and make them. You could have, it's player of the year, actually. I bought Bootsy's player of the year from Wonderland Music. Yes, I remember that, and it was a double album, like how it just opened up, like shit was crazy. Boom. Or it wasn't double, it just was big. I just remember that, dude. Yes, so that's my Wonderland Music story.
They sold equipment too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so so I just want to, because I think that's where I got my DJ equipment. When I got back into DJing once I finished college, it was like probably it was probably like 2000 maybe, late 90s and shit, and I went up in there, man, and got to looking at DJ equipment, man, and he was like, "Hey, man, you can get all this stuff, man. Speakers, your amp, all I need to do is run your credit. I was like, go ahead. I was like, go ahead, dude. Fuck it. Let's go for it. He was like, dude, you got about $8,000 credit line. Boy, I thought I was rich, man. I was like, man, I was walking up out of there with speakers. Man, the speakers that I had were so big, they had to be, I think I had to rent a truck to bring them back to the crib. That's how big the speakers were, man, that I bought. But I had my DJ equipment, man, and I was back on. That's when I was that's when we were living on Prairie off of West 7 Mile. I was not too far from Byright, actually. I could actually walk to Byright from my house. And man, I had my DJ equipment, man, and that dude, I forget that brother's name. He was a manager there. But he set me right, man. He set me right. I got my amp, my speakers, man, my turntables. I was ready. I was back in action, man. Wonderland music. Much love. That's my
You
story.
know, the places where we bought the music. Yeah, you mentioned Byright. That was my spot because that was
Hmm.
walking distance from the crib, and I didn't have a car, so you know, I was
Right.
up in Byright constantly, with Cliff and and everybody else who was up in there, listening to music, and so
I
these are
bought
places, you know. Yeah, go
my
ahead, go
first
ahead,
record.
Ken.
My first record I bought from Byright was David Bowie's "Let's Dance,"
Oh,
and I bought it from the Byright on 7 Mile between
it was near
Apollon
outer.
and Still.
Seven Mile,
Yeah,
Illinois, like right.
7 no, no,
It was
seven. The
closer to
first Byright,
closer to outer
first
drive.
Byright
Okay,
Yeah,
was
okay.
between
yeah,
was on 7 Mile between like Still and Apollon,
yeah,
or Sorrento and Still, like, but I want to say right there in that area.
yeah. It was
Yeah,
a
So that's
much
where I
that's
bought.
much
Yeah,
smaller.
much
Yeah,
what's
smaller.
up.
yeah, much
Uh-huh.
smaller location. Yeah.
Yeah, I had on a just to divert, since we talk about locations, I had on this Leumo t-shirt that
Yeah, I saw
I've
that.
been trying to figure out in design. And somebody hit me up. It was like 6 Mile or 7 Mile. And I was like,
Mm.
I had to
Okay.
think about that because I've never been to either, but I just know the stories. I've heard the stories, right? And so in my said 7 Mile, the amusement center. And the person was like, right answer, correct answer. So, yeah, bro, having these locations and kind of having a perspective of how you view them in the historical context kind of helps a lot of people kind of know where you're coming from, and get excited about, the possibilities of this story and how it will impact them.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So,
Do
so, so,
indeed.
so speaking of Byright, so when Cliff moved from the smaller location, he moved to a bigger location, and that location was closer to Livernois, right? Still on 7 Mile,
Mm-hmm.
but closer to Livernois, and that's where when me and the family lived on Prairie, I had a double stroller at the time, man. I put the kids in the double stroller, and we'd I pushed them down Prairie, uh, cross 7 Mile with my fingers crossed, because you know how 7 Mile could be at certain times. I'm trying to cross West 7 Mile with these babies. in a
You are
double
wild.
in a double stroller, just to go to Byright. And man, I would hang out in Byright with Cliff, man, for like hours. Sometimes I wouldn't even it wouldn't even be about the records. It would be about the friendship, the
That's
the his
dope.
the history lessons, the words of advice, the wisdom, just hanging out with that brother. And and I remember him sharing with me on a few occasions how, I think at one point he distributed a lot of Cats records,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Derek and them, earlier on in their career, before things kind of took off for them, with Europe recognizing their sound. But Cliff has a really interesting history with Detroit Techno. And quite frankly, he was the first place that really exposed a lot of us to that whole progressive sound, and buying records, and the man is still there. He is
Yeah.
still there. And when I go
Yeah.
back to Detroit, that's one of the first places I go to, because man, he has a vinyl collection that is just is crazy. You know, shit is like $2 and $3, man. I go there and just clean up a lot of old soul records, man. You can find at his at his spot, man. And just clean up. It's a vinyl junkies um, dream come true, you know.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah, much respect.
your point, I think underscoring that, these spaces are not just spaces for selling.
Mm,
There's spaces for community building. There's spaces where people share stories, and where people, and again, where you have somebody curating and selecting and providing, insights. So yeah, again, we can't underscore the significance of these spaces. And the key is, what are we doing to teach people the analogs, the current analogs that exist for this same type of thing, and how they can use them well and smartly, if you're in the record industry, or if you're a listener and you want to educate yourself. Like, those are two ways we have to teach people to manage this media. And hey, hopefully we can do that well with Detroit Techno 101. And
yeah,
that's, I think, the core.
it's crazy because buy right played a major role in a lot of us as DJs buying records. But then there were, obviously there was record time, and
Yep.
there was another one that people forget to mention, melodies and memories. Now
Ah.
granted, record time and melodies and memories really weren't in Detroit per se, but still a lot of Detroit DJs patronize those places. You know what I mean? I just got through seeing check this, a video that my son showed me on YouTube about Jay Dilla. And one of the guys that they interviewed was Gary, who was the owner of Melodies and Memories. And he talked about how Dilla was one of those cats that basically hung out in that place for hours, buying records, man. you know
Yeah.
buying records.
Yeah, I mean, these places educated, Dilla, we know. And any good DJ is crate digging,
Right,
crate
right.
digging is a way of life if you're a
Yeah,
DJ.
yeah.
And these are the places where, these archives were created. So, yeah, we've got, we're showing you where record time is, we're showing you where buy right is, allowing people to kind of visit those places, and
Okay,
then to learn about those places in the Detroit Techno, 101. And
nice.
yeah, let's just, you guys gave me a couple new spots that I'm going to add, and I'll find out where they are, and we'll allow you to visit them in VR, so that you can actually see what these spaces are. Because we gotta let people go back into the communities. It's not all about just you know, going to the festival and staying in the festival. We got to create pathways for people to go into the communities and spend money,
Mhm.
and go in the community and help the community. And I think that's another part of why I think this is important, is to make locations leaving the festivals when you come to Detroit be a part of coming to Detroit, and giving people reasons to visit these places and spend some money in the communities. Beautiful, beautiful.
Nice.
Nice,
Thanks
nice.
everybody for contributing on it. And I think that we're all, this is a beautiful thing. Let's give back to the youngsters, and let's help, and old alike, young and old. I'm
Young and
not gonna say
old.
that.
Yeah,
Let me
Uh-huh.
fix that. Young and old who want to
yeah.
learn about this art form.
Bro, we're this is a great service, and for us to be trying to figure it out to where it could be a curriculum, or where it could add to what librarians and other academics are doing in the Metro Detroit area. Like anything we could do, this would be great.
Well, guys, we hope you all enjoyed our 6th episode of God Said Give 'em Drum Machines Behind the Scenes podcast. We don't want you to forget, okay? You can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening from, okay? Don't forget the film is due out in fall 2021, and we can't wait for you to see it. And, we want to thank all of our listeners for joining us and just sticking with us. Special shout out to San Francisco, California, and Kodak, India, I believe that is. Wow, that is amazing. Detroit is international, baby. Also don't forget to head over to GodSaidGive'em.com/shop. That's GSGEDM.com/shop, SHOP, for our ongoing sale, 20% off discount. And there's new merch on the website. So please go check that out. And if you see anything hot, please support us. Also, you can head over to YouTube where you can find all of our God Said Give 'em Drum Machine podcast episodes. Okay. And cannot forget to give a special shout out to EPM Music team, Oliver, Addie, and Jonas. Also, I want to give a special shout out to Output, the sound design company that supplies me with great sounds and scoring this soon to be released documentary. And big thanks to Fusicology, my girls, Azia and Amy. We appreciate you both so much. So again, stay updated with us on Facebook and Instagram, okay, concerning what we're doing. And lastly, we wanted to give a special respect and rest in peace to WGPR TV's Karen Hudson Samuels. If you don't know about her, please look her up. She did so much with Detroit. Thanks for joining us. See you next month. Detroit Techno. Peace.